Hello, Union League Club Chicago. I'm Sally Metzler, Director of the Art Collection, also known as your Armchair Art Muse. I want to welcome you to the second installment of Art Tales. For those of you who joined us for the first Art Tale, you learned a fascinating story about two paintings, one that was hidden underneath the first one for over 50 years until it was discovered by a conservator at the club. This second art tale, I will present an equally fascinating story about a painting in the collection that seems on the surface quite simple and straightforward. However, at the end of this art tale, you will never think it's simple nor straightforward again, because I will give you many new insights about this beautiful work of art. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the second art tale. So just imagine you're walking down West Jackson Boulevard and you're entering the clubhouse. Push the revolving door to step inside, and immediately you are surrounded by art. For this art tale, you need not travel far. Look to your right, and the first painting that greets you is one of an unassuming white adobe house. You have likely passed by this painting countless times in a hurry to attend an event, meet a friend in the rendezvous, or heading up for a workout. But I ask you now to pause and reflect on this seemingly straightforward picture. By the end of this art tale, you will have new insights about this work of art and never take it for granted. The painting is by the artist Edward Joseph Findlay Timmons, and the title is Stevenson House. Let's step inside the painting, so to speak. Where are we? Where was Edward Timmons when he painted this house? Was he in France? Perhaps Italy? Spain? No, we're on the wrong continent. The full title of the painting unquestionably reveals the locale. This is the Stevenson House in Monterey, California. Now, one more question. Why was it called the Stevenson House? Did a family named Stevenson own the house? Well, not exactly. If you thought of the famous Scottish author Robert Louis Stevenson, then you are correct. Many of us remember as children reading Treasure Island and his other classics. Stevenson is in fact today still one of the most translated authors in the world. But Stevenson did not own the house. Rather, he made it famous. He visited Monterey, California in 1879, and he lived in this house on the second floor from September to December. Originally, this house was not called the Stevenson House. So before we learn more about Stevenson's sojourn and what brought him to California, let us hear more about this historic white adobe house, which in fact is still standing today. The house was built in 1841 for Lieutenant Jose Rafael Gonzalez, who was the first customs administrator for Upper California at the port of Monterey. At that time, California was under the jurisdiction of Mexico. Monterey was in fact the capital of California and the only port of entry for all taxable goods. In 1856, 10 years after the Mexican-American War, when the United States conquered California, the house changed ownership again. A businessman of Swiss-French origin named Jean Girardin and his wife purchased the house. As they rented out rooms for boarders, the house became known as the French Hotel. And you see here a view of the house today, which features a faded sign indicating French Hotel. By 1937, the French Hotel fell into disrepair and was under threat of demolition. However, thanks to the munificence of two local citizens, it was restored to its former glory, and they donated it to the state of California. Today, it is a popular tourist site and a memorial to Robert Louis Stevenson. The Park Service maintains the site, tending to the lush gardens that once were. But let us now get back to our famous guest of the French Hotel, or as we know it, the Stevenson House. So what compelled Stevenson, who suffered from ill health most of his life, what compelled him to travel on a grueling 6,000-mile journey from New York to Monterey? It was love. He came to win the hand of Mrs. Fanny Osborne. Stevenson and Fanny had met 3 years before, in September of 1876 at Grès, a riverside village southeast of Paris and a popular artist colony. Fanny was trying to escape an unhappy marriage and recover from the loss of a child. He was 25, she 36. The attraction was immediate. He was captivated by what he described as her swarthy gypsy beauty with clear-cut cameo features, curly black hair, and glittering golden eyes. She possessed irresistible charm and a keen intelligence. Now, Fanny returned to California, but Stevenson could not get her out of his mind, and he was determined to gain her hand in marriage. He left Europe for the United States and embarked on a grueling journey from the east to the west coast to be near her. The trip nearly killed him. He appeared at her doorstep looking like a bag of bones. While waiting for Fanny, Stevenson took up lodging at the French Hotel in September of 1879, where he occupied a room on the second floor. While waiting for Fanny to finalize her divorce, Stevenson took meditative walks along the Monterey shoreline. He remarked, "This is a lovely place, which I'm growing to love. The Pacific licks all other oceans out of hand. There is no place but the Pacific coast to hear eternal roaring surf." Now, it has been suggested that this sublime seascape served as inspiration for his popular novel, Treasure Island. During his sojourn in Monterey, though fraught with anxiety and illness, Stevenson was prolific in his writing, penning The Old Pacific Capital, a description of Monterey, and he also completed The Amateur Immigrant, which was an account of his cross-country journey to California. His tribulations were worth it, as on May 19th of 1880, Stevenson and Fanny were married. So we now leave this tale of love, intrigue, and adventure and focus on the painting that brought us to this fascinating piece of literary history. Just as Monterey inspired Stevenson to write, the epic coastline and quaint town lured our artist, Edward Timmons, from the Midwest. Born in Janesville, Wisconsin, he was a gifted athlete who held the state record in the mile, but art was his passion, and to his parents' consternation, he rejected an athletic scholarship at the University of Wisconsin in favor of studying at the Chicago Art Institute. Timmons did everything he could to survive there on little or no money, sweeping floors to earn funds for classes. But his efforts paid off. During his last year of study, he impressed the faculty to the degree that he was hired to teach a sketching class. He graduated with high honors in 1903. Timmons traveled to California on several occasions, enraptured as so many artists were of the scenic West Coast. In this work, his painting of the Bells of San Juan Capistrano, he imparted a romantic, nostalgic vision of the California missions. In this example, he translated on canvas the lush bounty of the natural California landscape during the season of fall. Maintaining a permanent residence in Evanston, Illinois, he also established a studio in Carmel by the Sea, nearby Monterey, in what was the first apartment building in Carmel, the Sundial Court Apartments. In our painting of the Stevenson house, Timmons applied loose brushwork, which lends a naturalness and overall calm to the bucolic setting. Sunlight bathes the architecture and landscape. Now, though much of the composition, such as the low trees, is rendered in an impressionistic manner, he lavished attention and detail on the subject of his landscape, the historic edifice that gave respite to a most celebrated author. Timmons had one additional reason, other than the beauty of California, to spend time there. His brother-in-law, Arthur Hill Gilbert, was also an accomplished painter, and he lived in Carmel. He and Timmons often painted together. In addition to landscapes, Timmons also was a gifted portraitist, and here he painted a compelling portrait of his wife Marjorie, which the club in fact also owns. After Timmons died, Marjorie, his wife, donated her portrait along with the Stevenson house to the Union League Club Chicago. So thanks to Marjorie Timmons, we own two of her husband's masterful paintings, one very personal and one honoring a great writer for all time.